Alright guys, in this video we're going to do the footer and the contact modal, and hopefully if we have time we will do the smooth scrolling as well. So let's go below the last section we did, and I'm just going to put in a comment here for the footer, and we're going to use the HTML5 footer tag. I'm going to give it an ID of main footer and also a class of BG dark because I wanted to have that dark background color. So in here I'm just going to put a container and also a row, and we just want basically one big column, so we'll just use call. We also want to put everything into the middle, all the text, and inside here actually let's put a padding class in here, so we'll say py4, so top and bottom padding, and then an h1 with a class of h3. Actually no, let's not do that. Let's do h3. We don't really want to have more than h1 or more than one h1. So let's just say LoopLap. We'll do all caps like that. And then underneath that we want our copyright. So I'm going to put a paragraph. I'm going to say copyright ampersand copy semicolon, which will give us the little copyright symbol. Now remember down here in the Bootstrap boiler, we added this line of JavaScript. Basically, this will take anything where we put the ID of year and it'll insert the actual year, so that we don't have to hard code it. So instead of doing just 2018, if you take this course in 2019, then it's still going to be 2018. So I want this to be dynamic, so I'm going to put a span with the ID of year, and then it should automatically just pop in there. Okay. Let's see. So under this paragraph, we're going to just have a button. This is going to be for our modal. So we're going to say button class btn. Let's do also btn dash primary. And then we want to add a data toggle attribute, and we want to set that to modal. And then of course we need a data target. It needs to know what is the actual modal, and we're going to just call this number sign contact modal like that. And then inside here we'll just say contact us. That's the actual button text. So if we save that and take a look, it should look like this. Okay, so now we need the modal to actually open when we click this. So we're going to add that next. So we'll go underneath the footer, and let's say contact modal. So this here will have a div with the class of modal. I also want it to fade, so we'll give it a class of fade. And I also want to do text dark dash dark. And of course this has to have an ID, which is going to match whatever we put here, in this case contact modal. And then let's do our modal dialog class, and we want the modal content, and inside the content we can have a header, modal header. And in the modal header, we'll have an h5, and let's give that a class of modal dash title. So there's a lot of different modal classes that goes into this. So this will be, let's say, contact us. Under that, we're going to want the close button. So we'll say button, give it a class of close, and we also want to give it an attribute of data dash dismiss, which actually makes it close. So we want to set that to modal. And then inside here, inside the actual button, we're going to put a span, and then we want an X icon. We can use a ampersand times semicolon for that. And then underneath the modal header, which ends here, we want the modal body. And that's where the actual content goes, which is going to be our form. So let's add in here a form. And we'll have a form group. And in here we're going to have a label. We'll say for name, and then an input with a class of form control. And then I'll just copy this form group. So we'll have a name, we'll have an email, and a message. So the second one here, we'll say email. Email, whoops, I didn't mean to do that. So type, we can do an email type. And this next one will be for a message. So label for message. You don't need the 4 attributes, but it's not going to hurt anything. So message. Now message, I actually want to be a text area, so I'm going to get rid of the input type and just do text area. And text areas need to have a closing tag. And let's see, that should do it. So the submit, I'm actually going to put in the footer. So under the modal body, we'll say modal dash footer and put a button. We'll say btn primary, and let's do btn block. And then we'll just say submit. All right, so let's save that, see if that works. So if I click this button here, we get a nice little modal. We can close it up. Good. So now let's implement the final thing that we want here, and that's the smooth scrolling, so it doesn't just appear like this. So we're going to implement scroll spy as well. So when we kind of scroll down, that particular menu item will highlight. So there's a few things we need to do to add this. One is on the body, we're going to add data-spy equals scroll. We also want to add a data-target, which is going to be the nav, and we'll give that an ID of main-nav if I didn't already. And we also want this to be a target, so I'm going to give this the ID of home, because when we click home, I want it to go all the way up. So I'm going to put that ID here. Now this main nav needs to be attached to the nav tag here, which I didn't do, so I'm going to just add that. Okay, and then all of our IDs should be in place. So we have home, which is the body right here. We have the explore head tag or head section, create head section, and share head section, which is here, here, and here. Those are the targets we want. Now remember, with Scroll Spy, we actually have to initialize it. So we're going to go all the way down to the bottom. We'll go under our little current year line here, and we'll say init Scroll Spy. So for that, we're going to take the body, and we're going to say dot Scroll Spy, and we want to pass in an object with a target, and that target is going to be the ID of the navigation. So now if I save that, we go back, it's not going to implement smooth scrolling yet, but as I scroll down, watch the nav bar, you'll see it goes from home to explore to create to share. And that's what I want. So for the actual smooth scrolling, I'm going to use the same exact snippet that I used in the Sandbox. And instead of just typing it out, I'm going to just paste it in. So 1 second here. Okay, so we'll paste that in. And basically, again, it's just any link we click on, it's going to run this function. We're going to check to see if it has a hash on the link. If it does, we'll put it in a variable. We'll then do the animate from the scroll top. We'll say 800 milliseconds it'll take to scroll down and set the window location to that hash value. Okay, so it's just, this is a snippet that we'll use in a couple different themes. So let's save it and make sure that it works. So I'm going to go up to the top. I'll hit explore. Nicely scrolls down, create, and share. Cool. And home should go all the way up. So that's it, guys. That is our theme. Now let's make sure that it's responsive and it looks good on small screens. So if we were to look at this on a mobile device, that works good. So we have our explore, head, the main section, the create, the share, and the little footer. Hit the modal. That looks good. Awesome. So we have a completely responsive theme here. and it was pretty easy. Okay, pretty easy, one-page theme. In the next project, we're actually going to implement Sass. Okay, so Sass allows us to basically have variables in our CSS. It allows us to nest CSS styles. It has a whole bunch of features. It's not gonna be a full Sass course or anything, but I do want to show you how to implement it and how to use Bootstrap with Sass. All right, so we'll do that in the next project.